end of this board has a problem, and that chalk shows you what it is. The planer cut deeper at the end here than it did along the rest of the face. That's called snipe. And to salvage this board, you'll probably have to cut that length off. It's not a problem with the planer, it's a problem with the adjustment of the planer. In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust the tables to take care of getting rid of snipe. Now, to check the adjustment of your tables, you'll need a long straight edge of some sort, something long enough to span both the infeed and the outfeed tables. A piece of jointed lumber works perfectly, or if you happen to have a long metal rule like this, it works great too. But put a clamp on one end. What that does is, when you put it through, it'll be like a little counterweight, and the ruler will stand on its own. Here's the problem. This is the end of the outfeed table, and look at the huge gap there between the ruler and the end of the outfeed table. In fact, there's a gap all the way to the front edge of the outfeed table, and on the infeed table itself, at the front end, we have a gap. In fact, all along the table, we have a gap. This table's sitting too low. Fortunately, these things are easy to correct. Now, to get those tables flush with the table under the cutter head, there are really just two adjustments. On this model, there are two screws that hold the table to a bracket underneath. By adjusting those, we bring the inside edge of the table flush with the table under the cutter head. Below the table are two bolts. By adjusting those up or down, we raise or lower the table to get the entire table flush with the table under the cutter head. So all we need is a screwdriver and a couple of wrenches. First adjustment I want to make is to bring the inside edge of the table flush with the table under the cutter head here. Now, to do that, I'll use these screws, but first thing I want to do is lower this outside edge so that my straight edge rests here and gives me a true reading across this table, across the front edge. And to do that, I loosen this bolt and the lock nut underneath. Okay, so now I've got a gap there on the outside edge. Now I can concentrate on getting these two surfaces flush. First thing I'll need to do is loosen these two screws. This holds the table to a bracket underneath. The holes are a little large, so I can have some adjustment room up and down. After loosening one side, I need to loosen the screws on the opposite side as well. Now hold the straight edge flat against the table under the cutter head and bump the table up so the inside edge touches the straight edge. Tighten the screws on that side, then do the same thing on the opposite side. Now bring the outside edge of the table up by raising the bolts under the table. If you overshoot the adjustment, just back off the bolt a bit until the full length of the table just touches the straight edge. And again, repeat this adjustment on the opposite side. Then tighten the lock nuts to keep the bolts from shifting. Now that I've got the infeed side done, I need to go to the outfeed table and make the same adjustments. Just as before, adjust the inside edge of the table, flush with the table under the cutter head. Check this on both sides. Then, raise the outer edge of the table on both sides. Okay, so that's the final adjustment. Now, both the infeed and the outfeed table are in perfect alignment with the table under the cutter head here. Now, the real proof, of course, is in planing another board, see if we've eliminated that snipe. Well, let's see how we did. Much better cut. That is enough, just enough snipe that we sand it away to make that board perfectly level. Now, if you end up with a planer that you can't get these adjustments to take out the snipe, no matter how hard you tried, there is another fix you can try, and it's adjusting the tilt on these tables to help eliminate snipe at the end of the cut. The secret to all that is a penny. Start with tables that are properly adjusted, like I just showed you. Then raise the outside edge of the table enough that you can just fit a penny under the straight edge right next to the inside edge of the table. If the leading end of the board sags as the back end passes under the cutter head, the back end of the board will then raise up into the knives. That causes snipe. So by raising the outside edge of the table slightly, you counteract that sag on the leading end and you reduce the snipe. So this little trick should get rid of any snipe we're experiencing on the outfeed side of the board. Now if you're experiencing snipe on the infeed side, just repeat this trick on the infeed table. If you take about 15 or 20 minutes, go through and check the tables on your planer, you might be surprised at how much better performance you're getting out of this tool.